Alright, here we go. Good afternoon, and welcome to Prospero Plays. Today I'm taking a look at the new features that Brave New World adds to the Civilization 5 game. Now I know this is an old expansion, but one of my friends just picked it up and was a little confused with all the new things that were added. So I'm taking a look, one video at a time, at some of the different features that were added to Brave New World, because a lot was added into this new late game. I'm super excited because Brave New World was one of my favorite expansions to Civilization, and it added a lot and really just made the late game worth playing. Today we are going over one of the bigger segments that were changed, which is the culture system. Cultural victory and the whole culture system has been changed completely. Now, towards the beginning it might not look that different. You still have up here your social policies button, which looks almost the same as it did before. You still have tradition, liberty, honor, piety. That's new. What's that all about? Patronage is pretty much the same. Aesthetics is completely new. Commerce, exploration is new, and rationalism is right where it should be. And then there's these ideologies. If you're curious about ideologies, I've made another video, so go ahead and check it out on my channel, and it will explain a little more about ideologies. But this right now is just about social policy and culture, the new cultural victory system in general. Now, one thing I should note while we're here at the beginning, because we're going to be moving from earlier into late game, the first thing you'll notice is that some things are locked to other things. So for example, you can now no longer just straight up build the pyramids, the hanging gardens, the temple of Zeus, and other things of that nature. You have to have at least one point in one of the trees. So, tradition allows you to build the hanging gardens. So if you went and just rushed liberty, but then decided, man, I need that extra food boost from hanging gardens, you wouldn't be able to build it because you need a point in tradition. Liberty unlocks the pyramids, honor the statue of Zeus, piety unlocks the great mosque of Dijon, patronage unlocks the forbidden palace, which is good for diplomacy, which I will go over in another video. Aesthetics is culture, it unlocks the Uffizi, which I probably butchered the pronunciation of that. Commerce unlocks Big Ben. Exploration unlocks the Louvre. And rationalism unlocks the Porcelain Tower, all of which are very strong wonders that you can only build if you have at least unlocked one point in the tree. So you notice I have unlocked patronage. Just one point in the patronage tree allowed me to construct the Forbidden Palace. So that's kind of the opening setup. A lot of these you can explore on your own. They're fairly well explained if you just hover over them. Exploration is good for late game naval empires. Aesthetics is for culture. And that is what you're going to want if you're going for a cultural victory. This adds a lot of excellent bonuses. Piety is a new tree for religion, which once you get to the end of, you get a Reformation belief, which makes your religion even more powerful. But you guys want to know about how the cultural system was reworked. Originally, the person that culture produced was a great artist. Just in general, it was describing artists of all kinds. Great works of writing and literature, paintings and music and anything. Now they've divided it up. So now you produce three different types of great people for culture. You have the great writer, like here I have L. Frank Baum. Great artist, I have Samuel F.B. Moore here in this city. And then down here, a great musician, Alban Berg. Now, each of these things do something slightly different. First of all, if you want them to, they can create a great work for your culture. In this case, Frank L. Baum, I will use, could create a great work, which in single player actually is named, it's named either way, but it comes up with a nice graphic. It's kind of cool. Each of the artists can create a great work of their kind. So, Frank L. Baum, the writer, can make a great work of writing. The artist can make a great work of art, and the musician can make a great work of music. Their secondary ability, though, is what makes them unique. The artist can create a political treatise, which gives you just a straight boost of culture. the artist can just start a golden age right off the bat, and it will tell you how many turns that golden age will last. And finally, the musician can do a world tour, a concert tour. If you go into an opponent's territory and use the concert tour, you'll get a huge boost in tourism, which I will explain in a moment. The culture system's rework was giant, and one of the main things that it did was that it divided offensive and defensive culture. So, cultural points, as they were originally, accrue over time, and as you hit certain milestones, you get a new social policy. This is the same. However, culture is now defensive. Offensively, you have tourism. This is how attractive your culture looks to visitors from other cultures. And this is how you win the game. Your tourism will increase over time by making great works. People will want to come and visit you. For example, right now, all the other nations of the world see me as exotic. You start as unknown, then you move to exotic, then familiar, then popular, then influential, and then dominant. Meaning your culture has complete control over the opponent's culture. Getting from familiar to higher gives you bonus science from trade routes. Your spies are more effective, and if you conquer a city that your culture already controls, people will be less resistant to you conquering that city. So those are very important things for culture that were added. But in general, tourism is up against culture. So you see these bars. Right now for Babylon, my tourism is familiar. I have a 40.4% influence over Babylon. At 60%, popular will be reached. Once you get to influential in all the opponent's cultures, you win a cultural victory. In this case, you can see that everything's rising slowly, except Babylon is rising quickly. My tourism rate at base is 14 right now. However, with Babylon, I have a couple of bonuses. Open borders and a shared religion increases the amount of tourism between my two cultures. That and the fact that they aren't producing that much culture in general means that eventually my tourism will overtake their culture, and I will become influential in Babylon. Now, tourism is controlled in several different ways. The main way, though, has to do with great works. This is a new button here called Cultural Overview. As I was looking right there, that's the Cultural Influence tab. Cultural Victory shows how close you are to gaining, or how close everyone is to gaining that cultural victory and being influential over the most cultures. It also shows the amount of tourism each nation is producing. However, the culture and tourism system is made by great works. So, right now I have 3 buildings which could potentially give me bonuses. They're called theming bonuses. So for example, here I have Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. It is a Portuguese great work made in the Renaissance era, around 1300 AD. It's currently housed in the Great Library, which is in Lisbon. Next to it is The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas. It's a Portuguese medieval work made around 1020. These classifications are important because right now by themselves those work produce 2 culture and 2 tourism. However, if you look under the Great Library, the theming bonus, to maximize it, you need to get great works that are filled with writings from different eras and different civilizations. So right now I have one from Portugal in the medieval, one from Portugal in the Renaissance. And you go, Jeremiah, how in the world are you going to get from other nations? It's mutually beneficial, and you can swap great works with other people. So here, for example, here's a great work, the Portuguese Shaika, the seagull. If I want to trade that, I can go down here, pick up the seagull, and I can trade for something else. It's a Renaissance work. The one that I am going to keep, which is the Musketeers, is medieval, so I could go with a Renaissance work from any other culture. So it looks like Babylon has a Renaissance work there. I can click it, and swap. Now I have in my possession a Babylonian Renaissance work. If I pull this Babylonian Renaissance work, if I click here and then click here to swap, you'll note that the Great Library is now the Library of Ancient Knowledge, and it gives a +2 theming bonus, which means it will be producing, in addition to the 4 culture and 4 tourism from in here, an additional 2 culture and 2 tourism, just from the theming bonus. Now here's the, now each theming bonus is a little different. You can tell by hovering over the number that's there. Sometimes you'll get partial theming bonuses, sometimes you'll just get one. The Louvre has a huge theming bonus, and it has 4 different slots for you to work. Here in the Globe Theater is filled with writings from the same era in civilization. I happen to have a medieval work here and a medieval Portuguese work here. It is now a theater of medieval Portuguese literature. So I'm going to go ahead and swap out Alice's Adventures in Wonderland in order to make even more theming bonuses for Macbeth. Perfect. I didn't mean to close that, I apologize. So now you can see I have 2 theming bonuses here, and now I have a 21 base culture, whereas before I had a 17. You can do the same thing with great works of art. Here's the Sistine Chapel. It needs art from the same era in civilization. I have here an industrial era painting, which I can move into the Sistine Chapel in Porto. And I don't have any other art, but I have this great artist here who will make another industrial era painting for me. The gallery at the Louvre. I can now move this here, and I get the theming bonus for this chapel of industrial Portuguese art, the Sistine Chapel. So the most common building that gives theming bonuses are museums. And museums give theming bonuses for different things. It either, for artwork, you can have an art museum, in which case both great works need to be of the same type, art and artifact, both from the same era, and both from the city's civilization, or from a city other than. So it needs to be from the same civ, it needs to be from the same era, it needs to be of the same type in order to have a theming bonus in your museum. Now, as I've already mentioned, writing artifacts, or writing art and music as different things, and each place gets housed in different places. So, amphitheaters hold great works of writing. Opera houses hold great works of music. Museums hold great works of art. Your palace has a great work of art slot, and some other things like National Epic and Great World Wonders have other slots for great works in addition. However, as I mentioned before, artifacts can also be used for museums. There are the new units called archaeologists. Here we see an archaeologist digging in this antiquity site. Once you research archaeology, antiquity sites will appear all over the map. They mark areas of interest throughout the game. It's a really cool feature. For example, here is an antiquity site. This is very possibly a place where a Babylonian warrior got engaged with a barbarian, or a Singapore villager was captured by a barbarian. If you have large-scale battles in the early game, you can pretty much count on there being some sort of antiquity site in your territory, or in the area where that was. You move an archaeologist onto the antiquity site and begin to work it as if it was a worker. You can make archaeologists from any city that has a university. Very Indiana Jones. This archaeologist had just finished, so we can see what he found. So I've plundered some ancient beads. They happen to be Portuguese ancient beads. They're some of mine from when I went to settle Braga. There were beads left by the long trek down south. So I can either create a Portuguese artifact, which is a great work, so it'll produce 2 culture and 2 tourism, or I can make a landmark. If I make a landmark in my civilization, it will make a culture based on give you +1 culture based on age. This is an ancient era landmark, so it would give me at this point in the industrial era 4 culture per turn, and just keep getting bigger, depending on how old it is. However, I want the artifact for use in my museums. I've got another artifact here, which will be finished digging shortly. As you can see, the archaeological site is now gone because it's been dug up, and the archaeologist has also been expended, which means there are only a limited number of archaeological sites on the map. Once all of them have been removed, no one else can get any more artifacts. There are hidden antiquity sites that you can unlock by going down the exploration tree. So, that pretty much wraps up, hopefully wasn't too confusing, one of the big things in Civilization Brave New World, the cultural rework, and has to do with tourism. So, now that I'm generating significantly more tourism from all these theming bonuses, you can see that my influence is rising even faster in all of these places, which means I will achieve influential status. If you're going for a cultural victory over one of the other victories, you should note cultural is one of the slower victories, but it's also one of the hardest to stop. So if you can hold off opponents from winning in other ways, you are almost guaranteed victory from culture. Thanks for watching, and look for my other videos in the Brave New World series on my channel. This has been Prospero Sparks. Live long and Prospero.
Oh, you're a very bad man. Oh no, my dear. I'm a very good man. I'm just a very bad wizard.